Okay, so today I'd like to talk a bit about Ip Man 3 with Donnie Yen, Max Jang, and Mike Tyson. I went back and revisited this one today, just totally out the blue. And it's funny, the Ip Man franchise obviously is very popular among martial arts fans. A lot of people hold it, in pretty high regard as one of the must-see martial arts movie franchises. And here's the thing, I'm weird when it comes to this franchise. I like the films, but I can take or leave the majority of them. It's really this third one that I want to spotlight, because this one for me is the standout. I do like 1 and 2, but it's more of in a passing sense, or in a passive sense. 4 was fine, but obviously that was really selling you on Scott Adkins versus Donnie Yen, and it's a great fight. But the film as a whole, it's fine. It's nothing great. But there's something about this third one. And I must say, I really like the spin-off they did as well with Max Jang and Michelle Yeoh and Dave Bautista, Master Z. That one was what I really enjoyed. But yeah, this one, the third Ip Man movie, it's definitely my favourite film in the franchise, the third one. And of course, the big selling point for me, because these movies are all B movies, there's a schlockiness to them for sure. But obviously, in all of the Ip Man films, you're going to get some beautifully choreographed fight sequences. You come to expect that. And given who's involved, obviously Donnie Yen specifically, but we've had people like Sammo Hung involved in the franchise, and obviously in this one we have Max Jang. And with people like that, you expect high quality fight sequences. And obviously the Hong Kong studios, the Hong Kong film industry, they know how to choreograph and shoot fight sequences. If nothing else, that's basically their bread and butter. So Ip Man, all the films certainly deliver on the action. Obviously some take more, some take a bit longer to get going than others do, but this one obviously has once this one warms up, it delivers in spades. And what it is about this one, because it's got the action, but all the others have great action too. But the thing about this one that really sells me, it's the subplot that they have involving Ip Man's wife, played by Lin Hung in the movie. Obviously she's in the first 3, and obviously the third one's a final appearance. And basically the subplot of Ip Man's wife being diagnosed with cancer and it being inoperable, and it's absolutely heartbreaking. And that really is for me the selling point of this movie, because obviously if you want action, there's a ton of schlocky martial arts films out there, but this subplot between Ip Man and his wife, his dying wife, it packs for me such an emotional punch. And it's beautifully done. The way it's acted by Donnie Yen and Lin Hung, she is absolutely fantastic. And for Donnie Yen, it's the physical performance, when he sat there and the way he looks at her, and obviously the way he holds her hand, and the initial scene when she breaks the news to him. The way Lin Hung performs that scene is absolutely first class. And what it is, we were talking obviously just then about the schlock value that these movies have, and it's true, these movies do have a schlockiness to them, but for this part of the film, when we get into this subplot, it really elevates. We get into a basically prestige territory almost, like we level up, we raise the game almost, like, oh, it's a total gear shift. And it's what really makes this film stand out. Obviously, yes, the action's great, and elaborating on the great action, obviously this movie gives us Donnie Yen versus Mike Tyson, and that's a brilliant fight scene, and there's so many great fight sequences in this. Obviously the other big fight scene in this is we'll just refer to it, for lack of anything else, as the elevator fight between Donnie Yen and this Muay Thai kickboxer who's basically recruited by Mike Tyson to go out and put an end to Ip Man's meddling. Perceived meddling, although obviously Ip Man's standing up for what's right, but Mike Tyson doesn't take too kindly to anyone standing up to him, so we've got this, shall we say, hired gun, for lack of a better term, and obviously the fight scene that he has with Donnie Yen is spectacular. One of the things I must give credit to Mike Tyson in this was used in totally the right way, because there's always this debate you can have, is should sports personalities, in this case boxer, be involved in films. Obviously we've had a number of mixed martial artists getting into films. Well, I say mixed martial, obviously Donnie Yen is, but from the sport, UFC, obviously most famous example recently of Gina Carano, obviously with Fast 6 and with Deadpool and now The Mandalorian, and she's done really good work. But obviously there's always this thing, should sports personalities, same with singers, rappers, like Tyrese and Ludacris in the Fast and Furious movies, should they really be getting involved? And this is a good question, but this movie is a prime example of where it works. Same as with Tyrese and Ludacris in the Fast and Furious movies, they're used in exactly the way they should be used, so it works. The way Mike Tyson's used in this movie, it works because they know they're under no illusions of coming in and thinking that they can be this great heavyweight actor. You know, it's basically played to their strengths, because obviously we know why Mike Tyson's here, and it's basically sooner or later there's going to be a point in this movie where him and Donnie Yen come face to face, and that's exactly what he's there for. He's not here to deliver some groundbreaking performance that will go down in cinematic history. He's not here to win any awards. He's here to give us a kick-ass fight scene, and when that we finally get to that point in the film, oh yeah, they deliver completely. And one of the things that's interesting about it, because there's always going to be this question, okay, you're putting Donnie Yen and Mike Tyson face to face, and also the significance of the fact that Donnie Yen's playing a real historical figure who means a lot of things to a lot of people. This is the guy that trained Bruce Lee, so how are you going to handle this? And basically, ultimately it comes to a no contest, because obviously the context is Mike Tyson sets the clock and says, if you can last 3 minutes with me, I'll back off, I'll leave you guys alone. And sure enough, they go 3 minutes, so there's no clear-cut winner. And on the face of it, you might turn your nose up and think, well, that's something of a cop-out, don't you think? Because, I mean, there you go, at least in Batman v Superman. Say what you will about that movie, I love it, but I know a lot of people don't, but at least that gives us a clear-cut winner. Oh yeah, Batman walked away with it when he broke that bathroom sink over the back of Superman's head. Oh yeah, and threw him off a balcony. Yeah, so we don't get a clear-cut winner here between Donnie Yen and Mike Tyson, but it's such a satisfying fight sequence, and both guys get their opportunity to shine. You feel fulfilled, you know. So we get a great fight scene. It really does live up to the promise. Like, oh, Donnie Yen fighting Mike Tyson, that's a must-see event. And yeah, it really is. And obviously we get some other great sequence that we mentioned earlier, the elevator fight. So the action is there, but it's really that the plot, the subplot involving Lin Hung as Ip Man's wife, and the cancer diagnosis, and obviously this movie ends with her passing. It's that is the heart and soul of the movie, and it really is what elevates it. It's beautifully done, and it's beautifully acted, and it really is heartbreaking. And one of the things that goes hand in hand with that is the music score. Kenji Kawai does the music for this, and I guess we could call it the love theme that's very prominent in the scenes between obviously Donnie Yen and Lin Hung. It's absolutely gorgeous, the music score. There's actually an interesting choice using a Spanish guitar that features quite prominently, and it's actually quite reminiscent of maybe something you might have got from Michael Kamen in maybe the Lethal Weapon films, which is very interesting, but it really works and helps to hammer home the emotional impact of the scenes between Donnie Yen and Lin Hung. But yeah, it's just I always remember the first time I watched it, that really stood out to me, and going back and rewatching it again today, it really held up, and again really hammered that emotional punch. Obviously honourable mention of course goes to Max Jang in this movie. You know, his character, who is obviously he's an uneasy ally of Donnie Yen, obviously a fellow Wing Chun disciple, and obviously there's a respect there and an admiration, but you can sense from Max Jang's character that he wants to be the best, and then obviously in the second half of the film he establishes his own school and he's challenging the various masters. So obviously after we've resolved the Mike Tyson storyline, it's then obviously building up to the final fight of the movie, which is going to be Donnie Yen going one-on-one with Max Jang. And we've talked, obviously Donnie Yen's phenomenal martial artist, and obviously the way he captures the stoicism and respectability of Ip Man. Max Jang, he's just so cool. He really, and he can legitimately go toe to toe, in terms of the martial art. Max Jang, I was introduced to him in this, and then obviously saw him again in the spin-off Master Z, and then obviously he was in Escape Plan 3 with Stallone, and again Dave Bautista from Master Z, and obviously Daniel Bernhardt, of course, has a fantastic fight in Escape Plan 3 with Daniel Bernhardt. But Max Jang, I tell you what a guy. He's so cool, so badass, and his martial arts skills, abilities, just pristine. And obviously we get a great treat getting to see him do his thing. And of course the fight at the end between him and Donnie Yen doesn't disappoint. You get all sorts of stuff. The fighting with staffs, blades, and then obviously comes down to hand stuff. And it's again, getting to see the various styles and what cool things can we do with our fight sequences? How do we keep reinventing and leveling up and keeping it fresh? Obviously we start with staffs, then we raise the game by switching to knives, and then we finish with good old hand to hand. Yeah, so that pretty much wraps this up. I really, really like Ip Man 3. It's by far and away my favourite of the Ip Man films. Yeah, and again, I know there are a lot of fans out there, and again, opinions vary. Obviously, this is just my personal take, saying that praising Ip Man 3 as the standout, but I appreciate opinions vary. A lot of people still hold the first one as the best. A lot of people love the second one, But again, it's the subjectivity, and they all have great things about them, So it's all. Again, if you're a fan of the Ip Man franchise, please feel free to share your thoughts. I'd love to generate some discussion about it, because it's a franchise that deserves to be talked about, So thanks for sticking with me and listening to me ramble. I hope you found it entertaining, and of course, love to get your thoughts on it. Please feel free, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for listening to me ramble. I really appreciate it, and I wish you guys all the best. Thank you, everybody. Bye bye.